took me a while to get to this, but for this matchup, all on-screen feats and materials, such as the hit era, and yes, including Thomas and the Magic Railroad feats, but also with the Railway series stuff, shall be included for Diesel 10, Henry and Gordon. But as always, excluding annuals, magazines and Big World Big Adventure era feats. So I have talked about putting Diesel 10 up against Henry and Gordon before, and so I shall deliver. But as you may know before, Diesel 10 is just as horribly featless as the likes of Donald and Douglas, with his basis stats and Pinchy carrying him to summarize. And due to that featlessness, it's gonna get very difficult for him, so he's definitely gonna need as much as he can towards the 2 rounds up ahead of him. So let us all see how good he will fare against them. The 2 rounds shall start off with Henry and then Gordon. Inside the 2 rounds, I will at first be going over the feats and materials of the characters, which one is most superior, before diving into how the matchup should play out. Starting off with Henry, this is going to be interesting. Though realistically speaking, Diesel 10 should be the most strongest here, with 48,000 pounds compared to Henry's like 25 to 30,000 pounds. The addressed problem from the previous video where I state that Diesel 10 has no strength feats is however coming into play. That compared to Henry, who has been shown with much more better strength showing. So pushing or pulling. So that is already an advantage for Henry. However, types of strength can come into play, like striking, ramming, root, or whatever you want to say, which Diesel 10 could definitely do. I know about the high attractive effort means wins argument, which I previously have used for my James vs Edward video, but like that Thomas Duck vs Donald Douglas, feats and usage of it is just as important to determine and gauge. Since James has more and better feats to compare to Edward, that's how he is able to win over him despite being a lot dumber. Meanwhile, Diesel 10 is just a complete loser as the likes of Donald and Douglas. And although it isn't a complete speed blitz, Henry is somewhat faster by 6 miles per hour over Diesel 10's only 90 miles per hour roughly. And there's also the fact that Henry, with his best feats like Henry's Hero and to an extent Super Rescue, enables him to get stuff like endurance and even compete with stamina, for example. And whilst Diesel 10 does have decent durability feats like surviving a fall off the viaduct, Henry closes in with stuff like functioning after a boulder hits his side, for example. So now that my explanation of the showing is out, how would the playout commence? Well, like similar to calling all engines, Henry is likely to use that pushing Diesel move on Diesel 10, which is going to be a trouble that would likely get him killed, due to Henry being at least being comparable in stats and points, closing the gap despite the real life stats tries to say. But what should keep Diesel 10 going is his claw, Pinchy, Haxus, his types of strengths like striking, and equally good durability and raw power. But he would need to play very smart and get as serious as he needs to, as Henry can strike down at any moment if he isn't being careful, which however can be argued to be rather hard to achieve due to Diesel 10's less than stellar, with battle IQ, skills, and overall intellect. Despite, and I know this may come to a surprise to some of you, but my verdict would be that Diesel 10 should win here, but with a hard extreme depth, as due to Henry, right? As despite Henry rivaling him with more and even surpassing with better feats of his, Diesel 10 still has his brute force alone, based on his bases and his striking strength, and of course, his hacks, his weapons, Pinchy. Yes, what Pinchy could do exactly on Henry Kent is still up to debate, like what? Clawing at Henry's face? But whatever the case, Diesel's 10's best hope is to strike as hard as he can with his brute force alone to eventually wear out Henry. Diesel 10 should overpower, but not without a hard, extreme death due to Henry's rivaling feats. Sorry Henry fans. I love Henry as well as my personal favorite, but sometimes favorite doesn't mean strong. Second and final round is against Gordon, and oh crap for Diesel 10. Gordon, with all his materials and feats, is at least superior, or if not, even more superior to Henry in terms of better attack potency, speed, stamina, and even strength, and much more, such as better intelligence, with high and extreme depth in that Gordon vs Henry matchup. Like at this point, why does the claw even matter anymore? Especially when the unused potential comes around to bite him in the buffer. And that along with one of the worst intelligence of all the other character. Yeah, Diesel 10 isn't really going to find a way to overcome this. The best he can try and desperately do is maybe ram as hard as he could like he did to Henry, like swinging Pinchy around trying to claw at Gordon, hurling insults at Gordon. But however, whatever the case, all that does is probably going to fuel Gordon's anger even more. Gordon's attack potency is really going to hurt. In addition, with a better speed blitz above 100 miles per hour, 115 miles per hour according to some. And don't forget that rivaling strength feats, like that calling all engines Ironworks twin showings, potentially surpassing Diesel 10 as well, despite what the real life tries to say. So this is a tough fight for the Pacific, but I do believe Gordon should win this. When fiction rivals yet surpasses facts, Diesel 10 is screwed. Not even Pinchy can save him. Diesel 10 can bark, but Gordon shall bite much harder. Gordon ultimately breaks down Diesel 10 bit by bit, high death to maybe extreme death. So to conclude this matchup, guess that previous videos was really correct. Diesel 10 is truly a fraud, especially against Gordon, a faker. Like, how is he a destroyer of the railways if he can't even stand on his own? Like, really relying on dumb wanks and composite to even compare. That's actually pretty saddening, really. So in the end of the day, Gordon triumphs. Poor Henry, of course, loses, but at least he gets Avengers